Hello friends, I recently just got back from a solo trip in Mexico City. I was there for 12 nights and I wanted to talk to you guys about what I spent there. Every single dollar, where it went to, how I spent it, and whether or not I thought it was worth it. I actually log all of my expenses in life, so everything down to food, travel, transportation, health, and wellness. And so this is the kind of a habit that I do after every single trip that I come back from. I like to categorize it into transportation, flights, expenses, even dog sitting, because that counts as a travel expense to me. So I'm going to expose myself and break down what I spent. I'm not gonna lie, this is my first time making this kind of video. Everything that I have is just on this little sheet that I prepped last night very quickly. So apologies in advance that this isn't the most organized budget breakdown. So I live in New York City and my round trip flight from New York City to Mexico City was $394.46. I flew American Airlines nonstop. I actually could have flown Memorial Day weekend where I had a day off from work, but flights were really expensive. So I decided to do the weekend after Memorial Day, and I think this was a pretty good deal. I did pay a little extra to choose my seat, which I usually don't do, but I wanted to be really comfortable. So I paid $11 per one way, and I love the aisle seat. So that's what I chose. Next are my accommodations, and this is kind of the section where I really wanted to be semi-frugal-ish, knowing that I'm a solo traveler. All I really wanted was a private room, but with my own bathroom. I don't really like to share bathrooms, and I feel like I'm a little old now for that. So I paid for a room in the Narvarte neighborhood of Mexico City, and it was $21.26 per night, and I stayed there for 11 nights. In total, with taxes and fees, it came out to $305.30. Pretty proud of myself for that. It was a very comfortable room. I'll link the Airbnb down below. I actually really recommend it, and the host lives there, but she's a retired woman. Super respectful, super sweet. We had shared access to the kitchen, so I made coffee there a lot of the mornings. I also spent one night in Taxco, which is a beautiful town in the state of Guerrero, and I splurged a little bit on that one. It was kind of like a weekend getaway where I only spent one night there, and I spent $89.60 in my own studio apartment in the center of town. So for accommodations, I'll put the total up here as to how much I spent. Pretty proud of myself considering that usually this would be like 4 nights at a hotel, but this was 12 nights total. Moving on to experiences and tours, but before I do that, I guess I wanted to give some context first in case you didn't watch my Mexico City vlogs. I have been to Mexico City before in 2018. I did most of the touristy things, but in general, I'm not someone who likes to go to every tourist attraction the internet recommends me. I kind of pick and choose what my interests are, and then I see if my money is worth spending on those things. For example, one of the most common things I do is a free walking tour, just because you get to pay what you want, and it's kind of a good introductory way to get to know the city once you land. This time I was in Mexico City for kind of a work play thing. So I worked 5 days out of the time that I was there and then took the rest of the time off, plus there was the weekend too. So it's not like I was out all day exploring the city. Most of the time actually I was working, and I would just go out to eat after work or even go out to eat during my lunch break. There were even a few days where I wasn't vlogging and I was just kind of living there. But when it comes to experiences, I really love booking things on Airbnb experiences. I like seeing what people have to say, and I like knowing that I feel like locals are usually the ones that are running these types of experiences. So I did a few. I did a food tour experience, which was lovely. We went to a local market with a local guide, and we made stops along the market, and I tasted a lot of different Mexican snacks and fruits and dishes. That experience was $44.06, which I felt like was really worth it. I feel like I made a new friend because the guide was so friendly, and I even had leftovers to take back home. Another experience that I did was to go to Chinampa, which is an artificial island on top of a freshwater lake that people use for agricultural purposes. That practice is slowly dying, but this specific one is trying to conserve that and to educate people on the importance of this kind of farming technique. And that was really fun. It was $47.95. Another experience that I did was in Taxco, which is the town that I was talking about that's really known for silver because it used to be a big hub for silver making. I spent $35.34 on a silver ring making class. And when I say this is one of the best experiences ever, I'm not kidding. This one was so worth it for me. I made a ring from literally like the silver material to the ring itself, and that was so much fun. Of course, I got to keep the ring. And then I also booked a tour on Viator actually to go to Taxco. So that included the transportation, and then as well as like a local guide showing us Taxco a little bit, taking us to a restaurant, and then we also made another stop in between Mexico City and Taxco to a small town. That was $69. So with tours, I spent a total of $196.35. Moving on to transportation in Mexico City. I only took Ubers the entire time I was there. Mexico City has different types of transportation, like public transport that you can take, such as the metro, such as the cable car, such as buses. Honestly, the only reason why I didn't do that was because I didn't really have time and I really wanted to just get from A to B quickly and safely. So I opted into Ubers. There's also another rideshare service there called Didi, but I've heard that that can be kind of unreliable, although it is a lot cheaper than Uber. Honestly, I feel like as a solo female traveler who has the means to pay for Ubers and just feel secure and have things be convenient, that was my preferred way of getting around. And I would say I did not hold back really on Ubers. Like, if I wanted to go somewhere that required a ride, I would just book it. I spent, I don't know how many Uber rides I took. I'll count it and I'll put it on the screen here. There were maybe 2 days out of the 12 days I was in Mexico City that I didn't take any Ubers because I stayed in an Airbnb that was in a walkable-ish neighborhood. So on Ubers, I spent a total of $182, which actually isn't that bad. I felt like I was taking Ubers everywhere. So I'm proud of myself for this. I would say it depends on traffic, but an average Uber ride for me costs about 5 to 7 USD, and that's like a 20-minute, 30-minute ride sometimes. However, if you don't want to spend a lot on Ubers like I did, you don't have to. Like I said, there are so many different ways of getting around Mexico City. Like the metro, for example, for a paper ticket it costs 5 pesos. For prepaid cards, it costs 10 pesos. So yes, there are a lot of different ways that you can get around. Even by bike too, I saw a lot of people biking. Lastly, I wanted to go over one of my bigger expenses, one of my favorite expenses, and that is food. So when I was in Mexico, I pretty much bought food every single day, whether that's takeout or sitting at a restaurant. And it would range from like really affordable tacos to a nice sit down brunch meal. I did kind of switch it up a little bit. But some days, like I would only eat 1 or 2 meals because maybe I would eat a late lunch and that would serve as my dinner. And then a lot of times for breakfast, I might eat fruit or just even snacks that I brought from home because I wanted to save money. So I would bring like these little Lara bars. So it wasn't like I was eating out every single meal, but every day I did go out and buy something. On food in total, I spent $269.07, which I feel like isn't that bad. To give you guys some context on how much food and drinks cost there, a cup of cappuccino or flat white would cost between $3 to $4.50, I found. Tacos, honestly, I was surprised at how expensive some got since I last visited. You can get really affordable ones like $1 tacos if you just go to like a taqueria, or if you go to like a bougier taco place, they can range from like $3 a taco. So there were times where I spent like $10 on 3 tacos, which is, you know, a little bit pricey, but really good. I got Asian food twice when I was there because I just really wanted to see like the Asian food scene and what it tasted like. In Mexico City, there are a lot of people from all over the world that have established businesses there. So I got a Taiwanese restaurant recommendation from someone that ended up being really good. And then I also was craving Korean comfort food one day when it was like pouring rain. It cost about $20 per meal, and that was like an entree, a drink, and an appetizer. Little pricey, but I understand. And also I was amazed at how good these meals were. Like, it was so good. I went to one museum during the time I was there. That admission ticket cost $3.64, so not bad. It was a small museum, but I really enjoyed it. I also watched one movie when I was there, and a movie ticket was $4.41, which was so satisfying to me when I was paying for it, because movie tickets in New York City now are like $17, $18. And I would go to the convenience store pretty often. The most well-known one in Mexico City is called Oxxo. So a bottle of water there would cost about $1.10. I did find myself buying water a lot of times when I was out, but my Airbnb host also graciously provided filtered water, so I would have some of that as well when I was home. And then one little thing that I noted here is that I took the bus from Taxco back to Mexico City, and that ticket cost $9.01. And that was about, I would say, like a 2-hour and 45-minute ride. If you ever plan on traveling through Mexico by bus, you can go on www.ado.com, and they have a lot of bus routes. The payment process is very secure. The buses were extremely luxe and nice, like AC. The chairs were reclining and super comfortable. There was a lot of leg room. There were outlets everywhere. There was TV playing. There's even bathrooms. Like, these buses are amazing. So highly recommend. And then another expense that I didn't really have a total for written down was shopping. I would say I spent about $200 shopping. So that included going to 2 flea markets, going to a home goods store, and then I also bought some silver jewelry when I was in Taxco, the silver mining capital of Mexico. I had to. I bought a gift for someone. So I think I spent about $200 total when it came to shopping. Okay, so now time for the big reveal as to the total number that I spent when I was in Mexico. I spent a total of $1,651.76. That was a little bit shocking, but also not. I guess if there was one regret that I had as to what I spent there, it would have been the Viator tour going to Taxco. I actually heard from several people that you shouldn't go to the state of Guerrero, especially as a solo female traveler. And while I don't think that's wrong, I got a little bit scared when someone told me not to go, and they said to take a guided tour that might be safer because you're with other people. So I decided not to take the bus there to Taxco, and I took the Viator tour instead, and it wasn't the best tour. It was just mainly, I felt like I was paying for the driving part, in which I could have gotten just by taking the bus. So next time I probably would not pay for that again. Am I happy with what I spent? I do think I wish I could have kept it under $1,500 total. I think that besides that tour, maybe I could have shopped a little less, but honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm okay with what I spent there. I did a good mix of everything. I ate the foods that I wanted to eat. I was working there after all, so it's not like I could be out spending a bunch of money. I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay with that number. I think I am. Lastly, to end off the video, I wanted to give you guys just a few quick tips when you're there solo traveling, especially if you're a female, but this really applies to all solo travelers. This is not a guide by any means. This is really just from my own personal experience and things that I thought of when I was there that I was like, oh, I really want to tell my viewers this. So one of the things is that a lot of places actually take credit card, like a lot, like most of them, even like small taquerias, they take credit card. So yes, you will need some cash, and I did take some cash out, especially for flea markets, and you know, you just never know, but a lot of places do take credit card. The next thing I want to talk about is which neighborhood you should stay in. So there are 4 major ones. If you look online, you're gonna know what they are. It's Roma Norte, La Condesa, Centro, and Reforma. These are the 4 most popular neighborhoods. There's a lot of expats there, a lot of restaurants, a lot of bars, close to a lot of attractions. I actually decided not to stay in any of them, but I stayed in, nevertheless, a very safe neighborhood and still not too far from the center. I stayed in Narvarte, which is more of a quiet, residential, middle-class neighborhood that still had some restaurants within walking distance, actually quite a few. And I really loved where I stayed. So if you guys ever want to kind of venture out a little bit, I really recommend Narvarte. And something I really want to tell you guys is that I felt really safe this entire time as a solo female traveler. So if you're a solo female traveler and you want to go to Mexico City, but you've heard all these things about it, whether it's from your friends or media, don't be scared. Like, be cautious as you always should when you're in a foreign country. But I'm not gonna lie, I had my camera out not like flashing it out, but I had it in my hands a lot. I had my phone because I needed to navigate, and I didn't encounter anything. I didn't feel scared, and people are extremely friendly there. They'll help you if you're lost. Even with the language barrier, I was able to communicate with a lot of them, and I felt really safe. I think especially if you're in these 4 major areas, you will be very, very fine. But yeah, don't worry. I didn't encounter anything and I was there. If anything, I was met with a lot of very friendly, very warm people, and a lot of people from all over the world actually. It's quite a melting pot in Mexico City. So you'll have a lot of fun, do not worry. The third advice is to learn a little bit of Spanish if you can. I would say this is kind of a must because I spoke Spanish everywhere I went. As little Spanish as I know, I tried my darndest to speak, especially if I was like ordering food, asking for directions, or talking to my Airbnb host who really couldn't speak English. To learn a little bit of basic Spanish is gonna get you really far. Like learning how to say to go, or for here, or if you want almond milk in your coffee, or to say with or without. These are all really important things. The last tip that I wanted to give you guys is in regards to pollution. Okay, this is kind of stemming from my own personal experience, but the pollution got to me in terms of like my health a little bit. I got a bloody nose when I was there. I was feeling my allergies like crazy just because it was really dry too. So just something to think about. If you want to wear a mask there, you can, or just keep in mind if you're someone who's a little bit sensitive to like poor air quality, the pollution there is not the best, and you're gonna see why when you're there. There's just a lot of things going on, a lot of construction, a lot of traffic. It's a very, very densely populated city. So just keep that in mind if you're a little bit more sensitive to that kind of environment. Okay, my camera is giving me the signal that it's heating up, so I'm gonna end the video here. I hope this was fun / helpful. I've never done one of these before, but I always think that it helps people to kind of know what I spend. And if you have similar habits, like similar traveling habits to me in terms of how you like to travel and what you like to eat, then hopefully this kind of acts as a little guide and gives you a little bit of an idea as to how much you think you're gonna spend there. It was super fun. At the end of the day, I am decently happy with what I spent. Every pesos was worth it. I had a great time. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'm sure there's a lot I didn't cover, or just a lot of questions that you may have, and I am happy to answer them. But if you are going to be traveling solo there, you're gonna have the best time. It's gonna be amazing. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you all in my next one. Bye.